Alright everybody, how we doing today? So, contrary to her usual popular belief, this is from Reason, Free Minds, and Free Markets, and it says, Kamala Harris' skin color is not why her presidential bid is tanking. Blame her censorious and authoritarian approach to public policy instead. Yeah, we had a black president. That was never a problem. How did she even logically justify pulling that card? I mean, we had a black president, literally the last dude. Why? That's nonsense. California Senator Kamala Harris' bid for the Democratic presidential nomination is imploding even before President Donald Trump could think up an insulting nickname for her. Once regarded as the Democrats' best hope to take down Trump, Harris has seen her polls collapse, her donations tumble, and her campaign in shambles. She claims her woes showed that the country is just not ready for a woman of color to be president. We were ready to have a man of color to be president. We had him for 8 years. This is self-serving rubbish. What the country is not ready for is another cynical and self-serving bully-in-chief who in her case is masquerading as a progressive. Harris, who catapulted herself to the second spot behind former Vice President Joe Biden in 1 or 2 polls over the summer, is now struggling to stay in the mid-tier. The latest USA Today Suffolk survey shows that her support among primary Democratic voters has dropped from 15% at its peak to a mere 3% now. She's way behind South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete, how the hell you say his name, Buttigieg, Buttigieg. Even Hawaii Rep. Tulsi Gabbard has inched ahead of Harris, a particularly humiliating development given that Gabbard viciously attacked Harris. Record is as a public prosecutor in California on the debate stage. Just like Harris attacked Biden's alleged opposition to school busing to propel herself up several notches in the polls in July, stunningly, Harris, who everyone expected to be right at the top, is now tied with entrepreneur Andrew Yang, a political nobody. All of this is affecting her fundraising ability, with her early lead dissipating. In the last few weeks, she has spent $2.5 million more than she has raised, and she recently fired dozens of staffers because she can no longer afford them. Her New Hampshire operation has reportedly shuttered. But she's going to pull the race card. When the real reason is because she's an authoritarian suckbag, and people know it. This is supposed to be the land of freedom, home of the brave. Not land of the free and home of the slave. I believe that's a quotation of a rapper called Immortal Technique. I'm not sure. Don't really care much for rap music, but I saw it in a meme once, and it seemed really profound. But if Harris fell from grace could be attributed to her gender and her mixed Indian and African-American heritage, then she would never have shot up in the first place. Also, those very same attributes would doom Gabbard, who is part Samoan and a practicing Hindu. Gabbard, moreover, if the country is not ready for a woman of color, it is even less so for an openly gay man with a husband. Yet Mayor Buttigieg is surging. Harris is right that minorities and women have to scale a higher bar for the presidency. It is inconceivable, for example, that a black man, much less a black woman, who behaved like Trump would ever come within hailing distance of the White House. Still, Harris is crashing not among general election voters, but among the more progressive ones in the Democratic primaries. So unless she believes her own party base is racist and misogynistic, she should look within to understand why she is in trouble. Here's the real reason she's falling. The more voters learn about Harris' decade and a half record, first as San Francisco prosecutor and then as California's Attorney General, the more they recoil, and rightly so. Harris has long billed herself as a progressive prosecutor that would strike many people as oxymoronic. But to her, this meant using the carceral state that conservatives like to tackle social problems that progressives care about. She's got the mindset of a cop who wants to save you not from the bad guys, but from yourself. She repeatedly fought for aggressive prosecution, not just of violent criminals, but of people who committed misdemeanor and quality-of-life crimes. Reasons Elizabeth Nolan Brown noted in an exhaustive look at Harris' record. Quality-of-life crimes. Is there someone among my subscribers or fan base who understands legalese? Please explain to me what a quality-of-life crime is. Sounds like a victimless crime, if you ask me. You know, just like minor possession charges for pot. What kind of quality-of-life crimes did she crack down on? Panhandling, prostitution, graffiti, loitering, driving under the influence, and living in an unapproved homeless encampment. This issue set would have made former New York mayor and new Trump confidant Rudy Giuliani proud. It is also one that targets people of color. It's also one that targets people of color the most of all. People Harris should have understood that, especially since she was reeling against mass incarceration and its disparate impact on poor and black communities at Yale University in 2006, when she was launching her quality of life crackdown. Her most notorious quality of life crusade was against school truancy. She first launched it as the distinct attorney of San Francisco, an office she won after defeating her truly progressive boss, who had alienated police unions with his alleged softness on crime, and then scaled it up when she became California's Attorney General. I guess I know what a quality of life crime is now. On the theory that high school dropouts are more likely to become criminals, Harris personally championed a 2011 state law that made it a criminal misdemeanor for parents to let kids in kindergarten through an 8th grade miss more than 10% of school days without a valid excuse. As if that was not bad enough, she also persuaded the state legislature to back the law with such harsh penalties at a minimum of $2,500 in fines and a 1-year jail sentence to prevent criminality in the future. She criminalized parents here and now. Yeah, if I'd been living in her state, my parents would have been put in prison long ago. HuffPost reports that hundreds of parents have been booked under her law. The vast majority of poor minorities juggling several jobs and struggling to keep their heads above water. One particularly tragic case HuffPost highlighted involved a poor black mom, the sole caregiver of her daughter who missed school because she was suffering from severe sickle cell. The police whisked the mom away from her home in handcuffs and then subjected her to a harrowing, expensive 2-year court ordeal. She was suffering from sickle cell anemia. Yeah. Don't vote for Kamala Harris. This woman is a nightmare. If Harris didn't spare parents, there was no way she was going to go easy on less sympathetic offenders such as sex workers. In fact, on the pretext of stopping human trafficking, she ramped up stings in immigrant communities and aggressively targeted websites such as Backpage on trumped-up charges of child sex trafficking. Even through Backpage, Brown Reports was one of the few venues where sex workers could seek clients without having to roam the streets, and although Harris now says she's in favor of decriminalizing sex work, she dodgily opposed the idea previously. And then there is her duplicity on 3-strike laws. Such laws, along with mandatory minimum sentences for drug crimes, came into vogue in the 1990s and decimated minority communities in inner cities. Harris campaigned against California's law, which threw third-time offenders in jail for 25 years. She pledged to invoke it only in rare cases of very serious and violent crimes. What she didn't say was that she counted sex crimes and possession of an unauthorized firearm as serious crimes, even though the penal code did not define them as such. You know, for a minority woman, you really haven't been very good to your community. I'm sorry, but as a black person, you have betrayed your people. You've treated them just as badly, if not worse, than some corrupt white people have. You are a black woman who's betrayed the black community, so I'm sure they love you. I mean, why not? Someone ought to, right? Oh my God, this woman! Do not vote for Kamala Harris! Don't do it! It ain't worth it. She's evil. However, there is an alternative. To finish this video off and make it possibly a little long, Tulsi Gabbard overtakes Kamala Harris in new polls as layoffs hit cash-strapped Harris's campaign. Now here's a minority woman that you might be willing to vote for. But now with Kamala Harris's campaign laying off dozens of people, Gabbard is just one poll away from being allowed into November's Democratic debate. She's also halfway through the polling threshold for December. Also noticeably, Harris still hasn't qualified for December, needing one more poll. Joe Biden still led among poll residents at 26%. This was followed by Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, and South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg. Other candidates all registered at or below 2%. Free minds. Nobody wins when social media censors more. When talking about online censorship of adult content, it's key to center sex workers. In my own experience using social media to explore and document my relationship with sexuality and queer womanhood, I've seen my own photos and memes removed or disappeared multiple times. Lead posts have ranged from including the word dyke, which is how I sexually identify, to photos where I am engaging in sensual BDSM while being fully clothed. 2 photos in a particular, headshot of me wearing a gag, and one showing my ex-fiancé spitting on my mouth, are flagged as violating committing guidelines by featuring nudity, though no such nudity existed when I posted this issue. Several queer content creators expressed their own frustration with similar experiences. Wow, I can't believe someone actually talked about that aloud in such a casual manner. This was written by someone named Chingy Legay at MTV News. Now, I'm sure many of you people are not going to find that as a sympathetic reason to prevent censorship. You're probably going to want it now. But yeah, text censorship is real. Time to stop denying it. I've literally witnessed entire tweets I was in the middle of responding to just go poof on my phone. It's ridiculous. Bottom line is here, folks. Tulsi Gabbard is overtaking Kamala Harris because this is the kind of thing Kamala Harris supports. Authoritarian censorship, authoritarian control. She is an absolute traitor to her people, i.e. the black minority, because she's treated them just as bad or worse as many corrupt white people have. Kamala Harris is about as unappealing as a human being in the year 2019 that I have ever seen or heard of. And while you might object to what that person was talking about, since this article is largely made of recycled information, as much as you might not approve of it, we have to support freedom of expression for all or none. Because anytime we suppress anyone for any reason, we create a precedent for someone else being suppressed in the future. You come after someone else for expressing themselves just because you don't like what they're expressing, it won't be long before they start coming after you. Because someone will find something about you they don't like, and they'll use the precedent you created against you. Message for Antifa, by the way. Next thing you know, they'll start suppressing your free speech. Future Antifa members, I told you so. Bottom line is, authoritarianism can shove it. And Kamala Harris, stop complaining about people not wanting to vote for you because you're black. That's not why people don't want to vote for you. They don't want to vote for you because you're a horrible person. Trump is a better human being than you. Let that sink in. Anyway, peace.